Today we're going to be doing a deep dive comparison between the 2012 and the 2025 Galaxy Foamposite 1. I'm going to go over all the styles, cuts, materials, and differences between these two shoes because yes, they may look very similar, but I'm telling you right now, they're also very different. Starting with the boxes, as you can see, a big switch up already. This is the classic traditional Nike sportswear box from this era and this generation. And within this, there are a ton of different logos that you may see all throughout this that were featured on different sneakers over the years during this time and from the past. Now when it comes to the new box from 2025, you can see this is going to be all over black with a matte finish instead of that glossy black text that we traditionally see on the premium boxes or the Foamposite boxes. When it comes to sportswear, you actually have a switch up and it's going to be a glossy Galaxy text. The side of the box features this as well with the large logo, and then you have a smaller logo here on the back end of the box, and then a tiny logo here on the front end of the box, and then another one here on the bottom half of the outside of the box. Another thing to note as well when it comes to this pair, this has an all over Galaxy print paper, and then you have a regular set of white paper as well that comes with the shoes. Oh yeah, and if you didn't know by now, my name is DJ and this is the DNA show. So looking at these two shoes side by side, just from the profile shot right here, you can see obviously there's going to be a difference in the shape and then the coloring as well, and then even on the outsoles. Now again, you do have age and time when it comes to these, so there's going to be a little bit more yellowing on there, but at the end of the day, they didn't switch up too much on the shoe when it comes to the actual coloring and the pattern and everything, because sometimes they like to give us a retro iteration of models, whether it's through Jordans or Nikes, and they switch something up that's like drastic, that's clearly not the same as the original version, and it's not even like a 2.0. It's supposed to be a retro, but then they switch something up. So one thing I can say is I'm definitely happy that they stayed consistent on the 2025 retro and giving us a very similar vibe as the OG. Now before we get into all the details and breaking down every single element of this shoe, you know we got to go over the history first.
Hundreds of shoe shoppers clashed with police over a pair of Nike Foam Galaxy 20. Each time, it seemed chaotic.
Everybody's going to trample each other. Little kids got pushed to the ground over there earlier.
Orange County Sheriff's deputies say it all started with an initial rush last night. About 1,000 people were waiting for this Foot Locker to open. So many that store employees got worried and called police. It ended up taking 200 deputies in riot gear and on horseback to clear the crowd.
So when everybody started rushing to get in line, everybody in line just pushed everybody out, and it's crazy.
Everyone was cleared off, but people kept coming back, and eventually, deputies let a line form near the store. Even then, though, the situation grew tense, and as you can see, one deputy started to raise his shotgun. Because of all the chaos, Nike canceled the release of the shoe.
So as you can see, that sums up the whole hype and everything that was going on during that time for that shoe. But we saw a ton of other dope models as well when it comes to Nike basketball. During this time, Nike basketball was on the rise of becoming the more dominant brand out of footwear and surpassing Jordan Brand when it comes to the hype train and overall demand behind sneakers. If anybody out there was collecting throughout this window of maybe 4 to 5 years, you will vividly remember as well what I'm talking about. It all kind of started around the KD3, KD4 era, and things started to slowly fizzle off around 2015, 2016. I have heard a ton of people consider the Galaxy Foamposite in particular as one of the greatest Foamposites of all time. And if not, it's in a lot of people's top 3 or top 5. Now when it comes to the original Foamposite one, this wasn't actually Penny's shoe. It was sitting in a bag amongst other samples which was potentially created for other Nike athletes, but the shoe immediately caught Penny Hardaway's eye and he had to claim this model. Since then we have seen hundreds of colors of Foamposites, and you also have the Foamposite Pro, which has a ton of great colorways as well. So from the late 90s to 2012, there was already a ton of hype continuing to build and compound year after year after year, and by the time the Galaxies released, it was game over. There was a huge trickle effect causing a ton of other Foamposites to start going up in value and creating a whole new demand. So Nike immediately decided to create even more pairs and colors because they knew they were going to continue to sell out release after release after release. Eventually, like every other sneaker, they started to get saturated in the market. Sneakerheads started to get tired of it and find something else to wear. So Nike had to put the Foamposite back in the vault for a bit just to give it some time to breathe. Also, before I forget to mention, there were somewhat of a Galaxy-esque type sneakers that have come out as well to go along with this. I don't know if you want to call it set, but you had the Northern Lights and you had the Big Bang Foamposites as well. Some people like to consider them, some people don't. They are a part of Stuff in the Sky, so I guess you could kind of align with it. And now in 2025, we have this new retro, which has brought now another new hype train along with it. So now that you guys understand a little bit more about the sneaker and why it is so hyped up demand and the resale prices are crazy, let's go ahead and start breaking down this shoe from the outsole and then we'll work our way up. So this is going to be classic to your Nike Foamposite 1. You have your herringbone herringbone traction pattern in the center of that, and then you have these little dots that go all the way around, surrounding it with the semi-translucent outsole. And just below that, you have a carbon fiber plate that runs all the way from the front end to the back end. And then in the center and the back end around the heel, you're gonna have that 1 cent logo in gray. Another small touch to the sneaker is gonna be your Zoom Air branding right here with the small Nike swoosh at the front of the toe. Now going to the 2025 retro, you can see that they are very, very similar when it comes to the overall presentation of the shoe. Now the same thing here, you're gonna have the gray 1 cent logo on the back end, and you have your Nike Zoom Air right here on the front end with the branding. This translucent area that may look blue or green depending on which shoe you're looking at. Both of these outsoles glow in the dark, and this has definitely been a feature that a lot of people love when it comes to Foamposites, because simply there aren't that many pair that actually glow in the dark. Now when it comes to the side of the foot, as you can see, that carbon fiber is gonna be a big plate right here wrapping around the side on the outside of the foot, and then on the inside of the foot you have a smaller piece right there on both of the sneakers. And again, I think they did a really good job. Hey, real quick, just wanted to let you guys know we're getting really close to 400,000 subscribers, so I need you guys to hit that subscribe button so we can do the next giveaway. All right, let's keep going on with this video. Now when it comes to the upper, the material, and the print, there's gonna be a couple different things that go along with this. So the Foamposite is a full Foamposite material. It's a mold that's put together. This is a creation in the 90s that changed the game, and over the years this material has stood the tell of time. And the only problem that a lot of people have potentially had is with this image that has been printed onto the shoe that might scuff off from wear. So it's a double-edged sword, but at the same time it's also cool to see something very unique printed on a sneaker like this. Now when it comes to the actual print on the shoe, you can see these two very, very close up. Hopefully you guys can tell from the images, but the new version doesn't look as pixelated. When I initially saw these images online, I called it like a caricature version of the original. Another thing to note when it comes to the material on the upper and the color pattern, like we talked about the vibrance and everything like that, it's kind of more, I would say, a darker purple right here on the front end of the toe. You can see it's definitely, you know, severely different compared to the two side pieces, but at the same time it still kind of blends in a little bit. Now when it comes to the new retro, it has a little speckle on it, but it basically looks like a black tip on the toe on both of these, compared to having somewhat of a resemblance to more of this kind of like darker purple area here on the side of the foot. So I think it's a lot more distinctive on the toe down when you're looking at the shoe, but overall I haven't heard too many people complaining about it, but that was something I definitely noticed when I saw these initially online and in hand. Now it's not drastically different when it comes to, like, you know, the blue is just like a whole different color or anything like that, but you can definitely see the difference with them side by side. And then obviously when you look really, really close, you can tell again it has more of a grainy look here on the OG. Now when it comes to the eyestay area here on the shoe, you're gonna see there's a slight difference on these, but the main thing that's very, very similar, you're gonna have that nubuck that goes all around this area of the foot. Honestly, I'm so glad that they kept the synthetic nubuck here on the retro, because they be doing that leather sometimes, and I just don't think the leather looks good on the Foamposite. For some reason, it's just, it doesn't hit well. It kind of makes the shoe look a little bit cheaper in my opinion. Now if you look real close right here, you can see there's a small Nike swoosh on the outside of both of the feet here on the outside there, in there, and a little bit different when it comes to the actual shade of the color. I feel like it's a little bit darker on the new retro, kind of more of a charcoal gray here on the older version. But overall size and everything, it looks very similar with that aspect. Now going up to the center of the foot, you're gonna see these have standard black laces. They go all the way up, and that's gonna be the same. These don't come with additional laces. And then in the middle of that, you're gonna have this mesh system with your synthetic nubuck and a gray stitch in the center of that. And when it comes to the tongue right here, you're gonna have your classic penny logo. The only thing that's different on these is there's a little bit of yellowing, so it's not gonna look like that same gray, but at the same time, again, the logo is very similar. Now one thing that I can say is on the original version, it looks like the logo is just slightly bigger. Now there's gonna be a pull tab right here with 4 stripes that go up in gray as well that match like the tongue. And on these, I would say the big difference as well, this pull tab on the original is just a little bit taller compared to the pull tab here on the retro. But another thing that could combat that is the tongue on the original version, it's a little bit shorter on the actual tongue where you look at the mesh here compared to the height here on the new version. So maybe they kind of made the tongue a little bit taller, but then they decided to reduce the size of the pull tab simply because it might be even, but now because your tongue is bigger, you have to put a smaller tab so it doesn't go as high. Now inside of here, you're gonna have all black with satin behind the tongue and on the back end around the booty area. And then on the sock liners, you're gonna have the all over navy blue with the red circle and the old Flight logo with the Nike branding in the center of that. And that's gonna be on both of these shoes. And when you look at the insoles right here, they kept that consistent as well between the two. shoe, but you don't need that much of an upgrade on the insoles simply because of the construction and configuration of the air bubbles inside of the shoe. Because there's so much Zoom air that's stacked inside of the shoe, it makes it a very, very comfortable fit. And that's another thing. If you don't know about Foamposites and never worn before, the shoe molds to your foot, you gotta break them in, but over time, I'm telling you right now, they feel amazing. And if you decide to buy a used pair, beware, because you might feel somebody else's foot inside of there because it's already molded to their foot. So depending on how many times the shoe's been worn, that's something to take note if you haven't bought a pair of used Foamposites before. Now when it comes to the back end around the heel and on the collar, you have that black material right here with that diamond print all throughout that. And then in the center of the back end of the heel, you have that classic OG penny logo as well. But if you look on a new retro, you can see that it's a little bit bigger. And again, just like we talked about the stitch on the front end of the toe, it's a little bit darker as well. And I can say it's a lot more defined as well. So I think they took everything they learned from this, and obviously with technology upgrades and different things like that, with machines and manufacturing, I can understand why there will be a tighter and a nicer stitch on this new version. Now, like we were talking about earlier, as you can see, the booty comes about the same height right here, but then if you look at the actual pull tab on the back end, same thing here. It's a lot taller on the original version compared to here. It's a lot shorter. So I don't know if this was like excessively tall back then compared to the other retros that were coming out, or if they're all similar to this. I didn't go back and look at any of my previous pairs, but at the same time, you can definitely tell there's a big difference with this. And I think overall, just rocking it because people are understanding it's more of a streetwear shoe. I get why they probably decided to shorten that up a little bit. Now, this is one hit that everybody was extremely happy about. You have that remove before flight patch. These look very, very similar. They could definitely be easy to mix up, but at the same time, this one's a lot more stiff and fresh and hasn't been around the block as long. So definitely easier for me to determine the difference between the two. But also, if you put them really close side by side, you can see that the red is just slightly different, a little bit more vibrant on the old pair. But to the untrained sneaker wizard eye, you're not really gonna tell the difference. Now, like we talked about earlier, you guys remember the Galaxy Zoom Rookie hit the streets as well during this time. And this was like kind of one of those low key, out of the mix type things, but still in play. It was interesting to see that they decided not to release this, and the question is, will they do it? Maybe this might be something they decide to do next year. They bring the hype back with these, and they bring the Zoom Rookie back, and then they start dropping a bunch of different colorways. I don't know, that might be something that may happen. This is the glow-in-the-dark Soul Collector Friends and Family pair. If you look at the tongue, you can see also right here, you got the Soul Collector logo, and then you got the glow-in-the-dark pods compared to the black pods like the regular release. So maybe Nike might take a note from this old chapter and give this sneaker to us with the glow-in-the-dark pods as a regular release now in current time, maybe in the next year or two, who knows. So now that you guys have seen more details of these two sneakers and the differences between the models over the years, what do you guys think? Do you guys like the OG? Do you like the retro more? I'm very interested to see your opinions. Honestly, I like how they went about this and gave it more of a bulkier stance on the new version when it comes to the overall shape of the shoe, simply because it gives that old school vibe. And I know they definitely came with more of a sleek Foamposite back in that time. This was 2012, 10, 12, 15 years ago. We saw these Foamposites coming out, and they definitely had a little bit different of a shape compared to the OG. Similar to, remember how the Air Jordan 4s, they were a lot more skinny, and then now they're giving us that bulky look again back like the 90s. I appreciate how they did that switch up. So I posted a poll on my Instagram to see what everybody else thinks between these two models, whether they like the OG or the retro more, and this is what they said. 36% of the people chose the OG and 62% of the people chose the retro. Now, I think there's a couple things that go along with that. The retro, I think, yes, it is an improvement of the OG from the past. And then the other part is there were a ton of people that simply weren't collecting or into shoes like that back in that time, and they didn't have that same memory, nostalgia, and all those moments from that era. So because of they heard the stories or whatever it is now, they're gonna take this shoe and they're gonna say, we're gonna run with that, and I think this one is better. And then you got the older collectors like us that's gonna say, bruh, the memories, the times, all the things that were going on during then, the riots, it was crazy. So I could definitely understand why this could be a 30-70, a 60-40, or a 50-50. Let me know what you guys think about the poll results down below in the comment section. And if you want to participate in any of these polls, make sure you follow me on IG so you can see the next one. So with all that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this. We're getting really close to 400,000 subscribers, so I need you guys to hit that subscribe button if you made it this far in the video and haven't already. All right, you guys, I'll see you.
I would never let you down, it's in my DNA. The only choice I like to make, what I'ma wear today. I would never let you down, it's in my DNA. The only choice I like to make, what I'ma wear today. I was made for it, it's in